Honestly, I bleed through towels too. I do feel that I kind of know my body a little better than the regular person. I did a lot of practices with my friends with the ultrasound machine. Just imagine me being scanned by my friend and then we're like, we say something, it's a cyst. The fact is that period cramps really suck. You don't have to go like all over the place because remember that your uterus is usually about the size of a fist. Let's get ready together while we talk about heavy periods, bad debilitating cramps, and trying to figure out your life while managing this thing that comes every single month and how I've managed to do it so far, even when I feel like I'm gonna pass out. This video is to help speed things up for you on how to manage your period, especially when you still have to go about your daily life and you can't just sit in your bed and suffer. I personally suffer from menorrhagia, which is a condition that I have very heavy bleeding. Did you guys know that it's estimated that 1 in every 5 women deal with menorrhagia? Isn't that crazy? If you don't understand what menorrhagia is, it's when you have prolonged heavy bleeding or just have super heavy bleeding in general. It took me a long time to figure this out, which is very unfortunate. But it's actually not normal to have periods where you're changing your tampon or your pad every single hour. Did you guys know that? When I found that out, I was very shocked because I live my whole life having very heavy periods and it doesn't really come up in like regular conversation. It's not like girls just talk about how much blood they're losing on a daily basis. If your periods last longer than 7 days or you have to go to the washroom every single hour to change your sanitary pads or tampons, oh my gosh, we are in the same boat. This is years of experience having to deal with it, and I'm just gonna tell you the most important information that you need to know on how to like tackle this thing. It's really important we first start with how I figured out that I have menorrhagia. There were multiple things. Self-diagnosis, but I'm very sure that I do. Also, my doctor has sent me for blood tests, so I know that I'm anemic, and that's probably because of my heavy menstrual bleeding. When I was in university, that was around the time that Diva Cups was getting very popular. So girls around me were getting period cups and they're like, oh my god, this is the best thing ever. It's so clean. You can just put it up there and then go home and, you take the cup out of you when you're at home in a clean environment and then you can wash it out and everything. But for me, I was stuck in a freaking lecture and I had a full day of courses. So of course, I'm like, yeah, this is the perfect time to try this. Wow, what a great thought. So I used the period cup during my lecture and then I realized that, oh my god, it's overflowing in the middle of the lecture. I had to go to the washroom to change it out. Let me search how many ml can a Diva Cup hold. So a regular size holds 26 ml, right? And excessive bleeding is considered over 80 ml. Per period, that's 80 ml per period. And I changed this Diva Cup at least twice during that lecture. So you can just imagine how much blood I'm losing if I have a couple of days of this. That's just like really excessive. It's really funny because you don't really understand what's heavy until you can actually measure it, and I feel like the Diva Cup really helped me there. Oh, I have sunscreen in my hair. And then I talked to my sister about it, saying like how horrible it is to use a Diva Cup, and she was so surprised because she doesn't have to change it that often. And I was surprised that she didn't have to change it that often. That's when I kind of put 2 and 2 together that I probably bleed way more than other girls. But I didn't really understand what the term was and I wasn't really so interested in figuring it out until I went to sonography to learn sonography. I took a sonography course and essentially I learned about menorrhagia during that time and I was like, hell yeah, I definitely have this. I didn't finish it, unfortunately. It wasn't for me, but it's useful for this video because I did a lot of practices with my friends with the ultrasound machine so I could see my uterus for over a few months, and I actually saw cysts in there, but thank goodness it's not PCOS, polycystic ovary syndrome. I knew my body had some inflammation because I was getting cysts, and my instructors were telling me that, oh, this is not something to be concerned about because it's not like a ton of cysts. It's just, I usually had just one at a time, and it's kind of interesting because you can actually feel it. Like I know exactly how it feels when I press like down there if I had a cyst, because it felt like I just know that discomfort now. Where is my concealer? Maybelline concealer. I've been using it forever. Where am I in my story? Just imagine me being scanned by my friend and then we're like, we say something. What is that? It's a cyst. So actually it's very common for women to have cysts. They come and go and it's just, body inflammation. That's why it's really important to figure out out what's good to eat and take care of your body. I got so many free body scans if you think about it going to school. It did grow slightly bigger over the next few weeks, but then eventually like it disappeared. I do feel that I kind of know my body a little better than the regular person because of this experience of like watching cysts grow and disappear, looking at every single like organ that I could around my abdomen with the ultrasound machine. I really hope that this video gets to the right people. So if you can please comment period down on the comments, that would be amazing. Probably the one thing that you guys are thinking about every cycle is how do you deal with cramps? So I'm gonna tell you exactly what really helped me with my cramps that were very, very bad in the beginning. Oh my God, in the beginning, funny story, my period, you guys are just gonna learn about my whole history here with my body. Essentially, I used to have very irregular periods, and those were awesome, by the way, although probably not very healthy. I used to have irregular periods that would come every 2 to 3 months, and I was very happy during that time because my periods were not bad. Like the cramps were very minor, but I decided that having irregular periods is not a good thing because I was talking to my sister again. So every time I reference a sister, I might be referencing a different sister. Just know that I talk to my sisters a lot. And we're all girls, so this is also a culmination of like everybody in this video. I essentially asked my mom to see if there are any supplements that I can take that could help this. And then I took something called Estera 1 from Pharmanex. I took it for 1 month and my periods became regular right after that 1 month. That was it, which is great. But the thing is, my periods became super painful, like super painful. I remember it was like the 2nd month of getting a regular period and I was laying in bed like holding my tummy. Oh my God, like I feel like I'm dying. Like, am I gonna be okay? It was that bad. You know, periods are just so painful sometimes. And I looked it up. There's a reason why when your periods are inconsistent, they feel not as painful as people who have regular periods. There's a reason for this scientifically. Irregular periods can be less painful than regular, consistent periods because of fluctuating hormone levels, particularly prostaglandins. During a regular cycle, the body produces prostaglandins, which cause the uterus to contract, leading to cramps. Inconsistent periods may involve less predictable ovulation and varying hormone levels, potentially resulting in lower prostaglandin production and consequently less painful periods. Great. I remember there was also a time when I was in university. I was taking a quiz and I was in one of those small classrooms. It wasn't a big lecture hall. I was trying my best to like concentrate on the quiz when like suddenly a wave of period cramps was coming on me. I was holding this pen and I was like shaking and I was like sweating. It felt so intense that I couldn't stay in the quiz. I had to be excused. And then I went to the washroom. I just lied down on the dirty public bathroom floor with my head in a stall and my legs out. Thank goodness nobody came into the washroom. Another flash scene that I remember was me holding the bathroom sink and just like staring in the mirror. Holy moly, like I can't go back to class. I had to call someone to pick me up. So horrible. The fact is that period cramps really suck. One thing that I noticed that helps with period cramps, for me personally, is actually to not use period cups. I know I told you that I used it and you know you learn things through experimentation, right? So I learned that when I use period cups, my cramps get more severe. I think it's something to do with how it, you know, you put it in like small and then it like unfolds itself in you. It causes pressure against other parts in your body and my body really hated that. I just would get such intense pain. I was like testing it, putting it in and then like waiting a few hours and then my cramps would get really bad and I'll take it out and then my cramps would be like still bad but manageable. Definitely if you use a period cup, think about trying not to use it and see what you feel. You know, now I actually have gotten to the point where I barely have cramps. I might get them for like maybe 3 hours on the 2nd day of my period when the cramping is the worst and I'm bleeding the most, but it's very insignificant compared to what I had to deal with before. What I recommend if you're in the moment feeling like tons of pain, just do some light stretching. I recommend doing the one especially where you're on your belly. Imagine this is your legs. Okay, and then imagine this is your torso. Put your hands like this and stretch your uterus. Stretch your uterus. It will be around this area. You know, it's like your muscles are cramping, so you want to like stretch it out to make it not cramp as hard on itself. I find that if I continuously stretch all the time, even when I'm not on my period, it does help during my period I have also cut out dairy, like regular cow milk, actually more for my acne because I know that dairy does cause inflammation. I know that I am slightly intolerant to it because if I drink too much milk, I get diarrhea. Is that TMI? But we are talking about a very personal topic anyway, so I'm giving you guys everything that I have, okay? So milk is very inflammatory to some people especially. And you just really want to reduce any inflammation that you can because you also want to reduce the risk of yourself getting cysts. This is all not medical advice, obviously, I'm not a doctor, but I personally don't take milk to reduce inflammation in my own body. If you really need milk with your coffee, for example, I now use coconut milk because it's healthier and it's very delicious. I really recommend trying that out. I get the big packets that are not in cans. I get the cartons, the paper cartons, and it lasts for like quite a few days. You only need like a teensy bit because I feel like the flavor component of it is so much stronger than cow milk. So it's kind of good there. Also, something very, very important to note is that coconut milk is low in carbs, and I have been trying to reduce my insulin spikes by reducing carbs and sugar. So now basically my sugar intake is mostly from fruits. So recently I've been avoiding pastries. And it's kind of sad to give up things like that, but when you realize that there are so many healthy alternatives, why not, right? Oh, another thing, oh my god, this is such a good tip. So you know girls use hot water bottles, right? The best place to actually put the hot water bottle, imagine that this is a hot water bottle. And then let's just imagine that your belly is here. Like, you know how there's a belly button and then a little pooch. Most people have a little fat here because it's like kind of natural to have that. And then this area right under it is usually where your uterus is. Put the hot water bottle there. That is probably the best area. However, I found that hot water bottles don't really help me that much. Like, it doesn't feel like a noticeable instant difference as compared to massaging. You know how people would massage your neck area, like to reduce cramping in your neck? You can do that for your belly area too, for your uterus that is cramping like crazy bitch. Like, oh my god, stop cramping. You really want to make sure to like massage inside, you know, right underneath where belly fat would usually be, and just like press and massage it gently. You don't have to go like all over the place because remember that your uterus is usually about the size of a fist. So just put your fist right underneath your belly, like where you need to massage, and like relax it. I totally understand how it feels to be on your period and absolutely hate anybody touching you or even yourself. You just feel so delicate and vulnerable, but just massage that area. If you have a partner that can massage you, that's also really great. You know, even though it's not as painful as before, discomfort is still discomfort. It still sucks. It's still painful in a sense, but just not on the spectrum like mind-bogglingly painful. If you do experience extremely painful cramps every single month, I really recommend going to see a doctor. You don't know what you have. You might have endometriosis. Hopefully not. Crossing our fingers. Hopefully you don't have that. You know, there are so many reasons, and like the uterus is just, there's so many things that could happen in your body that you just don't even know. Like, you can't list it. Okay, another thing that I really want to talk about is birth control. So birth control can help with cramps. However, I personally don't want to mess with my hormones as much as possible. I feel like that's a very sensitive thing and you don't know how else it can affect you. Some people find that it helps their mood, but then it could also impact your mood negatively. So instead of getting the hormonal IUD or birth control pills, I opted for copper IUD. It is kind of crazy that I got a copper IUD because a lot of people find that copper IUDs actually increase cramps, but for myself, I had a decrease in cramps. So that's kind of crazy and very good for me. This might not necessarily help you in reducing cramps, but it's good to know is that if you notice that you're giving birth to very big jellies, you know what the jellies are. If you notice that you're giving birth to very big jellies, that's probably part of why your periods are so bad, because your body just is releasing like so much of your endometrium lining at once. Did you guys know that there's such a thing where the whole lining can come out at once? When I found out about that, I was floored because, oh my gosh, that sounds so scary and terrifying. It can come out in the shape of the uterus, and it's very, very rare, but it does happen. And usually the girls feel tons of pain, and some of them even mention that they like passed out because of how bad it was. Like they immediately just like passed out and then the thing came out. Like, oh my gosh. You wake up to this like mess that you're like so confused what just came out of you. But that's what happens. So just know that the bigger your jellies are, that's also why your cramps are so bad. In terms of managing heavy flow, here are some tips on how to manage it and not mess up all your furniture in your house or other people's furniture. The first thing that you need to buy, go get it if you don't have it, is a mattress protector. Yes, you definitely need a mattress protector. It has saved me numerous times because if you think about it, at night you're like sleeping through the night and you easily overflow. Once it's gone into the mattress, it's very hard to get out. So just get a mattress protector. It's waterproof. You know, it's things that we get when we're little babies and pee on the bed, but this is for when you bleed on the bed. It is so good. When you think of waterproof mattress protectors, you might think that they're very uncomfortable, but actually a lot of them come with like a little cushion on top, so it feels soft on the top, but then on the bottom it's more plasticky, so that it's, you know, it's gonna catch anything and protect your mattress essentially, because you don't want to have to replace your mattress. Just washing this sheet is so much better. Before mattress protectors, I actually used to use towels on my bed. It is such a mess, and honestly, I bleed through towels too. The second thing that you have to get is period panties. Oh my gosh, you know, what are the chances that you have a job or you go to school where you can go to the washroom every single hour or twice an hour because you're bleeding so much? So period panties have such a wide angle that they cover from front to back. And trust me, I've used heavy flow period pads, heavy flow tampons. Forget about it. Period panties are what saved me every single time. So definitely get a few. I recommend getting at least 6 or 8 if you think about 2 panties per day, because heck knows I need to use at least 2 per day. Not that you can use it alone, it's not enough to be used alone, but it will help you with overflows. I'm so thankful that my period cramps are now not as bad as before. In hindsight, I kind of wished that my periods were still inconsistent, but having consistent periods really help in terms of knowing that you're not pregnant. I just feel like periods are such a hard topic for everyone. I used to really wonder if like I would be able to handle having these intense periods while going to work, because you know, work is different than schooling. You never know if you have to be with a customer, if you work in customer service and then you're like bleeding through your whatever. But honestly, it's pretty good, especially if you work with girls, because you can just tell them if you really need a hand and just gotta leave the floor and stuff. So don't ever feel too embarrassed to tell your co-workers if you need help, because all girls go through it and they completely understand you physically, emotionally, they get it. And everybody I've met has always been really understanding. I had a friend who had very, very painful cramps every month. It was almost like she had endometriosis, and she was getting a diagnosis at that time that I was working with her. And the manager, who was also a woman, was really understanding that every single month she would call in sick at least one day because the pain was so bad. Oh my gosh, I just can't imagine that for her. If you feel like something's off with your body, if not your doctor, just talk to the girls around you, because I feel like it's kind of really important. And try to eat healthy. You know, the best way is always the natural way. I do feel that because I'm eating less sugar and carbs in general, I have been getting less inflammation in terms of both acne and cramps. So that's another thing to think about. Anyway, thanks for hanging out with me. I hope this video was very helpful. If you guys have any tips and tricks for how you deal with your cramps, make sure to leave a comment on that as well. Okay, see you guys next time. Bye!